see some movement at the takeoff zone. It's Kelly Slater grabbing rail.
Oh, I literally just texted you. Well, Scott, let's start with story time today.
Story time? Heck yeah. What do you got for me? Got some, what's the really famous one about the cow and the moon?
Cow jumped over the moon?
Yeah. What a great story.
Well, inspired by your Eckhart Tolle, musings, I'm going to go ahead and read you this listener email. I heard Scott mention that he felt that Colby Plus's invention of the 3D printed surf booty would be an inflection point in surfing, after which booties would never be the same. This was a bold claim, so I was inclined to test them out. I got my booties a week ago. First observation was that they're as high quality as any boot I've ever tried. They were a little snug getting on the first time, but I couldn't believe how well they fit, given that Colby used a video of my foot to do the sizing and the fitting. I've logged 5 or 6 surfs in them so far. These are far and away the best booties I've ever worn. No more stepping on the toe of the booty or having them fill up with water. I forgot that they were on for the entire session, which is the way that it should be. If you're listening to this and thinking that a perfectly fit booty is intriguing, give them a shot. You won't be disappointed. Thank you for the recommendation, Scott. Mike from Weekend Vans. Oh, look at that. This is why people come to YouTube. It's for this.
See this nub right here? That horrible nub?
This is Scott holding a 3D printed version of his foot.
Well, I'm glad to hear that one of our listeners has taken my advice. An inflection point. And look, the water's been friggin' toasty warm. I've been chatting with Rob Colby at Colby Plus a little bit. He just sent me a brand new 4.3. And it's hard to put it on because the water here in San Diego is like 63 degrees. It's ridiculously warm for this time of year. And but I'm a huge fan of all things Colby Plus, and the booties are incredible. And I think Mike's email summed it up perfectly. I can't say it any better.
Are you using your booties in 63-degree water? Yeah.
No.
Unfortunately, you're just going to have to wear them around the house. Hopefully it rains. You can go outside wearing them in the rain.
It's funny you tell me that. I was talking to Rob, and he's like, yeah, Kelly's wearing them. Like, he takes his kid for a walk on the beach, and he wears them when he's walking on the rocks, the lava around his home.
Well, there's another endorsement for you, fans.
Kelly wears them.
The man himself. Yeah. Depending on where Stab in the Dark goes this season, maybe we'll see him.
Oh, yeah. That's a good
Anybody
point.
who was at the Boardroom Show back in October would have seen and visited the Colby Plus booth would have seen Kelly Slater's 3D printed foot there. So I know that was all the rage on Reddit. I saw people talking about that.
Did you really?
No, I don't ever go to Reddit.
No.
Never.
Oh, really?
No. Unless somebody sends me a link to it. But anyways, Colby Plus for wetsuits, booties, bags, accessories, and more. Colby Plus. And then Real Water Sports is also a retail partner with a 1,500 surfboard inventory, including surfboards from a lot of the shapers that you and I have interviewed on our podcast. They do kind of proprietary models for Real Water Sports that you can't find anywhere else, in addition to the big brands boards at incredible prices, and they ship worldwide, which is kind of incredible. So Real Water Sports.
Well, one of the boards that Real carries is the Ryan Sakel Sabre Twin Fin, which is my go-to board for big winter days here in San Diego. I have a 610, and Ryan and I don't want to say too much about it because it's really Ryan's deal, but we're working on a newer version of that, Ryan, the Sakel Sabre Twin. And I know Tripp at Real Water Sports is a big fan of that board too. And it's just a great surfboard. And it's one of those boards that mine's probably 2 or 3 years old. And I just go to it. It's beat up. It's, got dings. In fact, I just put a new ding in it yesterday. But it's a go-to. And even though it's browned and dinged and open wounded and just kind of been well surfed. It's got the patina of a well surfed surfboard. It's friggin' magic.
That's how we prefer them. A little bit of patina. What size do you ride yours?
Mine's 6'10". Yeah. And we're working on maybe, I'll just say this, like for all the guys out there and gals that love that Sabre twin fin, this one's going to be something a little bit more high performance-y for if like you're going to blacks or where, just maybe a little narrower, I don't want to say thinner, but just something different. But we haven't figured it out yet. We haven't figured it out. I'm sending him all these texts and stuff. I'm confusing him because I'm confused.
Are you getting a little commish royalty off these boards?
No. I don't want anything. Ryan's such a good guy, and it's tough being a shaper. If you're a lone shaper like Ryan and all the other 99% of the shapers out there, these guys are doing it and they're kind of grinding, and I'm not going to take anything from them. I want them to prosper.
I don't want to see Ryan's profits get cut into, but I feel like that board's popularity may have something to do with your promotion of it. And I feel like even Real Water Sports carrying of it might have had to do with initial conversations you started having. Not that, obviously the board is a success on its own merits, but the popularity of it through your influence, social influence.
Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't talk positive about it if I didn't absolutely love it. And everyone that surfs with me knows that it's a board that I ride all the time.
Add an extra $10 to the price of the board, Ryan Sakel, and then collect the $10 and put it into Scott Bass's future surfboard production. That's what I'm recommending.
Okay.
And get it all at realwatersports.com.
Yeah, guy. It is Spit. It's the Spit Podcast. David Lee Scales, Scott Bass. We're talking all things surf and occasionally some other stuff. Some pop culture stuff might show up on our radar. Let's see, February 4th. It's Wednesday, and we're at the tail end of winter, believe it or not. And gosh, David, good morning to you.
6 more weeks of winter, in fact, Scott. In case you weren't catching the news earlier this week.
I wasn't. Is this because of the groundhog?
Yeah. Coming off of our Real Water Sports Ryan Sakel conversation, you ride the 610 Sabre. What volume is it?
I have no idea. It's 2 5/8.
We got an email from a listener about Stab in the Dark. Kelly Slater, 53 years old, 72 kgs. Do you know how much 72 kgs converts to in pounds?
I'm going to guess it's like 160.
Yeah, perfect. That's exactly what it is. Was that because you do the math fast or because you know what Kelly weighs?
I just kind of know how big Kelly is, yeah.
His boards for Stab in the Dark are 27.5 liters. That was one of the kind of criteria for each of the shapers. So the email came in referencing that and said, conversely to yourself, meaning conversely to a comment that I made because I thought that was low volume for Kelly Slater. This listener said, conversely to yourself, I was shocked by how voluminous the boards he demanded from the shapers are, especially with his history of lithe, chippy boards, and that all he does all day is drink lemon water, ask the au pair to change diapers, work out, and surf. Scale 27.5 liters to 72 kgs up, and it is not that far off from what your average middle-aged 9-to-5 father of 3 tradie rides. I sensed Scott Bass's surprise. What dims do you guys ride? Discuss. And he gave a criteria. He said, multiply your pounds by 0.175 to give an equivalent for yourself, or kgs by 0.38. So are you doing that math right now?
I am. So my pounds times...
No, your pounds by 0.173. Or if you live in the rest of the world, kgs by 0.38.
32 kg. I got
32
32
liters.
Is that...
So 32 liters. So you weigh about 185? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, That would be the equivalent if you're using the math for the Kelly.
That's cool. That's good to know. I'm really actually glad to know
I am
that.
too, yeah.
A lot of my boards are like 36.
Well, because you're writing, if it's a 610, of course. I mean, this applies to, this math or this equation was created based on Kelly writing shortboards. So it'd be your shortboard equivalent.
Right. I'm writing a Greg Weber, that EPS, stringless EPS he made me. I wrote it yesterday. And God, that board, that's got a lot of volume. I would say it's probably 37 or 38. It's chunky and but it's a great board, man. Really a big fan. And it surprises me because I'm not an EPS guy, stringless EPS. It's got a lot of weird, it's not just, like if you put it on your arm, you'd be like, okay, this is different than what you'd find at the average surf shop. But you know what's interesting? It's a 3-fin. I don't ride very many 3-fins. And I was talking to a guy in the water yesterday, and it's like, 3-fins just feel good. There's something about the 3-fin. Yeah, it might not have quite as much speed, or maybe it's not quite as sparky, but it has just a positiveness, a pureness. It's like, dare I say, like sex without a condom. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with, it just feels right. You know what I'm saying?
I do indeed, now that you put it that way. I agree with you. I mean, what I find is writing anything for too long of a period of time, your appreciation of the positive attributes of that style diminish. You just get used to it, basically. So getting off of thrust, I rode thrusters exclusively for a very long time, and I feel like I've been riding twin fins mostly for the last couple of years, but the thrill is a little bit gone on the twin fins. And when I have gotten back onto the thruster or a quad, I'm like, oh my God, this is my favorite new feeling again, basically. And I mean, I wouldn't have put it as the positivity, but I like that you used that adjective. For me, there's just a added, pivot, basically, like maneuverability that is just so much more sensitive, I guess. But the positivity, now that you say it, I also totally know what you're talking about with that as well. And yeah, they're not as fast, but generally I don't bust mine out until the waves are better. And then speed isn't really a concern.
Yeah, you're right. And when you said pivot, that's a great adjective as well, because sometimes like you'll do a bottom turn and you'll come up onto a shoulder, and maybe it's just like you're waiting for the wave to set up on the next little section. And you can kind of go back on your back foot and just kind of hang back there for a minute and move the tail around a little bit. And that's the moment where I really appreciate that back middle fin, when I'm just kind of setting back on it, kind of like kicking the nose up in the air a little bit, waiting for this thing to hit the next little bar and run. That just feels like,
well, in that moment,
stuff.
Or the next moment, I guess, when you make the move towards the lip, I won't even be aiming at 12 o'clock necessarily, because I'm used to riding twin fins. So I'm just kind of aiming, to go upward. But the board by itself goes up into the lip, and then I come down off of it and I'm just like, whoa, what the heck was that? I wasn't even trying to go that vert, but it just found its way there.
I totally agree. I had that same experience yesterday where all of a sudden I'm surfing a little bit more in sort of a performance style. And unbeknownst to me, like I'm going off the bottom and the thing's just going straight up there, as opposed to, like you say, maybe 10 o'clock normally. By the way, I don't go straight up on a 3-fin either, but I like to think I do. I'm probably going at 10 o'clock or maybe 9 o'clock or whatever, but it feels good. And coming back down, like you get so much speed because you're coming down vertically again.
Yeah. So anyways, we're fans. We're getting back on them. I just got a brand new thruster. So the other thing I will say is, let's not overlook the fact that Scott was confused when I asked him how much volume he rides. I am too. Like, Scott and I come from an era where volume was not even a thing. I mean, certainly we understood what volume was and the values of it, but there was no number assigned to it, because that came with the advent of the shaping machine and the computer and all of that. Nobody was actually taking a surfboard, displacing water, and measuring how much water was displaced. So we didn't even have an understanding for what the number values were. That is a thing of the last 15 years, and I know I've been reticent to embrace it. Like this equation that we just got is the first time I've ever seen an equation. I was almost pushing against the idea of even including the volume measurement on surfboards. And now I'm glad that they do, and I'm glad to kind of know that number a little bit, but it absolutely does not dictate my ordering decisions. Like the most recent board I ordered did not mandate volume at all. Like I said, these dimensions are what I was thinking, but left volume completely out of the equation.
Yeah, it is ubiquitous these days, and you may not know this, but I believe it comes from the sailboarding world. Even in the 80s, those guys were using volume, and they had volume tanks. In fact, we had one at the boardroom show one year, maybe 15 years ago, where you would literally take your board and somehow you would like sink it into the water, into the tank, and it would punch out a volume number. And I could be ignorant here, as I've been in the past numerous times, but I believe it's that whole concept comes from the sailboarding world.
That makes sense.
Because that was kind of a European thing. Like that whole production of sailboards at one point moved over to Europe, and then of course to Thailand, and so.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind too is, again, this conversation started with Kelly Slater writing pointy thrusters. That does not translate necessarily. It certainly doesn't translate to a mid-length. Maybe there's some overlap with a fish where you're like, okay, I do ride the same volume in my shortboard that I do a fish, but almost anything else, you're going to have to come up with a different equation. So considering that he asked what we ride, my weight is 180, 81 kilos, and I did that conversion, and it's about 31 liters in a shortboard. I went back into my pile and grabbed like an actual pointy thruster shortboard that I have from Channel Islands, and they did include the volume measurement on it, and it's 29.9 liters. So a little bit lighter than this equation here. I think this new board, if I had to guess, is more. I think it's about 32 liters, but it's, again, because it's not a traditional high-performance shortboard. It's a performance shortboard, but it's beefed up, So it's about 32, I would guess, just from holding it.
And I would hope that in the contemporary lexicon, the word leaderage kind of grabs a hold. I think you and I invented that word, didn't we? At one point, we're like, leaderage. And somebody's like, that's not a word. But you know what? It is a word. What's your leaderage? Tell me your leaderage.
I think that it can be embraced because everybody knows exactly what you're talking about. If it created confusion, they hear the word and they don't know what it means, then, of course, it's dumb. Leaderage, when you're talking about leaders, and then when you talk about the leaders and then you say the leaderage of the board, that actually converts a lot more easier than the brain than switching to the word volume.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. We're hoping for leaderage. At one point, I tried to get the word NOS to become part of the lexicon. About that.
Yeah. No. Well, I remember it, but I don't remember what the definition was.
It was short for nauseating, which was a play on that's sick. Everyone was going, oh, that's sick. And then I was like, oh, you know what? That's NOS.
Okay.
Nauseating. It's more than sick. It's nauseating.
The reality is I hate using the word sick. And so I like having a replacement for it. But there's certain times where sick just comes out of your mouth. You watch, like when you see the most insane wave in real time and somebody gets sped out, sick just is the only word. But NOS could replace it.
Problem with NOS is that it doesn't have a hard consonant. Like sick. It's got that hard consonant like other really famous words have that are used quite often. So NOS is a little too soft.
It does.
We need a hard consonant.
I hear you. Well,
somebody will come up with something good.
Again, I feel like you can only use sick for one specific thing, but people do use it for a myriad of things. So maybe NOS replaces the myriad and sick remains in its position for somebody getting spit out of a tube.
Everything's sick. That's a sick hat. Those are some sick headphones. That was a sick movie. This food
Nothing
is
sick anymore. When
Everything's
when everything
it's
is
all
sick, nothing is sick. You know what doesn't make me sick?
Bros,
Boom.
that's amazing. I
Look
just
at you.
finished
Drink
mine. AG1. We're holding up our AG1 drinks.
drinkag1.com/surf. Support the show.
By the way, I didn't spill any on my
That
sweater
was
either.
risky
Not yet.
business with a white sweater too.
Oh, you should see all my clothes. There's just little drainage and drippings and everything. It's like I can't get through a meal without spilling something.
I don't know
on
if I told you
myself.
this story or if I told it on air, but the time we were driving to the airport and Lauren wore a white shirt and spilled the entire container down her white shirt. Did I tell you that?
I think you did tell me that.
Yeah, we were driving on the 405 and there's always construction on the 405. And so I hit a bump. I didn't aim for the bump. The bump was not my fault. The bump was a seam in the road, but I took all the blame for hitting the bump. And it was it was literally like as it was cresting, like from the vessel into her mouth is when the bump got hit. And it just splashed all down the front of her shirt. And she's like, we're literally driving to the airport. I have to wear this all day long. It was a mess.
Yeah. Well, it was your fault. Just take it. You got to take it. Those ones you got to just take. And then later you can talk about it later after it simmers.
There was no need to even address it later. It's just once we got through the calamity, never brought it up again.
Do you retell this story at like Thanksgiving? When
never
everyone's
retold
around?
the story except to you twice now, apparently.
Because it seems like a good story you could rehash now that it's the water's under the bridge, so to speak, and everyone can.
Yeah,
have a
she would
chuckle.
chuckle about it now for sure. Yeah, no hard feelings.
Well, I have a who said that.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so this is the section of the show where I try to stump David and the listeners by providing a famous quote and then giving you 4 people who that quote might be attributed to. Who said that, David? And I quote, "At every concert, there are lots of photographers who shoot the stage, but there are only a couple who shoot the green room. Of those few, there's usually only one who gets invited back. My goal was to be that one."
Can I guess before you even give me the names? Okay, but don't reveal whether I'm right or not. I want to hear the names too. But my first thought from the very first sentence was Sherman.
Okay, so your choices are A, Steve Sherman, B, Todd Glaser, C, Brian Beelman, or D, Todd Messick.
Interesting. It feels like something, I mean, it sums up Steve Sherman's work most accurately, but it also feels like something Todd Glaser would say. So that's my confusion.
Well, Brian Beelman,
Music.
big music fan, has an insane collection of vinyl. Todd Messick.
That feels like the red herring.
It's Todd Glaser. Did I say his name?
Glaser.
Glaser.
Yeah.
Sorry, Todd. I'm a big fan of Todd and his wife. They're wonderful, and they have their their baby, new child, probably older now. Might be a year old, maybe. But anyway, Todd's the one that said that, and I think that's a quote from when he was doing his book tour. That book, I actually have it here somewhere. The book with Slater. Anyway, it's in my bookshelf probably. But so you got it right. After Sherman was the one that it was kind of like, okay, everyone's going to think it was Sherman.
And the way, and I don't want to reveal too much about my processing with this game, but when you led with Steve Sherman, I had a thought that it's not going to be Steve Sherman because he's putting that in the number one position. He would try to bury the actual correct answer, which you did try to do. And by the way, it also...
You have given me a lot of info there. I'm going to be using that info the next time.
We really are playing 3D chess right here.
Games.
So the other thing is I feel like I've heard Glaser express that exact sentiment to me. And it got like I somehow stored it in my brain and was able to access it when you said his name. But I said it's reflective of Sherman's work. It is also reflective of Glaser's work, but Glaser also has shot a lot more action photography than Sherman has. So I think Glaser's work is kind of a mix of both the action and the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. Well, good.
But he
good take.
Most famously, probably goes without saying, has utilized that philosophy in his relationship with Kelly Slater. He's almost Slater's personal photographer.
Yeah. I would say that if there is such a thing, I mean, I don't know their relationship, but I think that universally everyone kind of assumes that.
There was a time 15 years ago where Morgan Mawson was kind of operating in that position. But I think Morgan's gone on to do a lot more commercial work and a lot less surf stuff. And Todd has remained true to the surf kind of space. And I think really a lot of that relationship was solidified and invested in through the inception of Outer Known. Like he was working with Kelly, to do whatever. And then once Outer Known came to be, it was kind of like Glaser is the guy to shoot a lot of that stuff. So it makes sense, but congratulations on an incredible career. I mean, geez, he's done amazing work.
Yeah, absolutely. And continues to.
Absolutely.
What do you got for us today, David?
I want to address a couple of things from last week, follow-up from last week. Ever since we've been publishing on YouTube, it's kind of a great place, a repository for the conversation to continue going and to go back and look at the comments to see how the conversation is going. It's interesting to see people give feedback on the show. One of the things is David is wrong constantly. Specifically about John John Florence, our conversation about John John Florence. And then when I read people's comments, I'm like, I just misspoke. I feel like I'm being misunderstood, and I think I misspoke. So maybe I should re-speak. And it was about John John Florence taking the season off in 2026 to continue his sailing adventures around the world with the family. And your argument was, I want to see him on tour. And I was arguing against that. That's not what I meant to say. I too want to see him on tour, but I don't think it's the best use of his time. And you know what I mean? Like, absolutely, if we can get the best surfers on tour against each other, that would be fantastic to see. But if I was John John Florence, I would make the decision that he is making as well. And further, I think that it's if you're in the prime of your surfing and you want to advance this level of your surfing, this is a better way to do it. His 2026 off tour, chasing great surf on a sailboat, will advance the level of his surfing to a level beyond what it would be if he was competing in these events around the world. Those are my thoughts.
And those are valid. I mean, that's just the way you feel about it. And so good for you, This actually interview with Sam McIntosh on Stab is sort of the meat of my my production here.
Well, let's get into it. I kind of skimmed it. I didn't read it, every single sentence of it. So I would be curious to hear more about it.
Well, here are my takeaways. So if you didn't know, Sam McIntosh from Stab did an in-depth interview on John after John announced that he's stepping away from the tour. And he asked him some things. And I pulled out 3 or 4 things here. So on the decision that John made, and I'm quoting John here, he said, I came home and I was saying, all right, I'm going to try to get back into the competitive mindset. I thought that would be easy, but it was really the free surfing side of it that kept pulling me in, just going out and surfing. I found myself gravitating back to that, thought of, I want to draw this kind of line, or I want to try this kind of board. So that's one of the pulls that I
did read that part. So this now makes me want to explain further that conversation from last week in the YouTube commentary is what I don't say every week, but I feel like I've said for years, so I'm apprehensive to repeat it all the time, is more about the limitation of the contest format. And so John expressing that is saying there's a wide range of surfing I could do on the face of a wave, but this style of surfing gets scored by the judges. So once you are in that jersey in a contest format, you're surfing to a criteria. And the wide range of things that you could do, you have to cast aside. And so it's going to limit your creativity as a surfer. What I'm saying in addition to that is that we will only see progress in surfing if you're allowed the full canvas and your whole arsenal of brushes. And there's examples of this throughout history. To me, the best one was 2007-ish, Snapper Rocks, semifinal, Josh Kerr, Mick Fanning. Mick Fanning surgically doing his Mick Fanning thing, gets big scores. Josh Kerr back against the wall, rips a wave, and at the end section, he has to go big, and he does what has now become known as a club sandwich. It's hitting the lips super hard and extending beyond the normal kind of arc of the turn into a 360, but holding the rail while you do it. So it's like a grab rail, almost like an air reverse, blasting through the lip. 360 rides out of it. Judges didn't even know what it was. It was just an explosion at the end of the wave. What are you looking at?
I'm just wondering, was that Josh Kerr or was that Dane
Josh
Reynolds?
100%.
I feel like Dane Reynolds had the same experience.
Dane Reynolds has done a better version of that and continued it after Josh Kerr, and Jeremy Flores does a really sick one too and kind of got known for it, but this was Josh Kerr. The judges underscored it. You know, now what we know, or the way that surfing has evolved, we now know how sick that turn is, and now it gets scored big. But back then, again, the judging criteria is set based on historical past performances, things that were done in the past. If you do something outside of that, let's say somebody did a Rolo in a barrel, how would that get scored? We wouldn't even know. You know, what if we've seen switch stance. We've seen Kylie Vost at Chopu go switch stance and then get underscored. That's infinitely more difficult. He's the only guy who could do it, you know? So there will be a point in time maybe where that gets scored based on its difficulty, but that's not the way the judging criteria is set up. The judging criteria is set up to do what we've already seen as best as we can do it. If you do something they haven't seen, it fits outside the box. So this is where my argument is and this is what John John is even explaining, is like, I just want to go be creative and just explore everything that my mind and my body can do. I want to go out there and explore it on a wave. And I'm saying that's where progress happens. So I agree. John John, go do it.
And I secretly think that, he's probably listening to us and he's like, that 9 o'clock turn that David and Scott talk about, I want to experience that.
That's why he's riding thrusters.
The 9 o'clock, the roller coaster. He's like, I've never done a roller coaster. Okay, here's another poll from that article, the interview, I should say, with Sam McIntosh and John Florence. On discovering new waves, he says, you're 2 miles out and you're flying the drone in and scanning the whole reef as you pass by it. And you'll spot a spit and think, that's it. Then we'll pull out, find a little spot to anchor and go try to surf it. So go ahead and pick up on that if you're interested.
That sounds infinitely more interesting than going and surfing Sakurama.
Well, I mean,
or
a colonoscopy could be more interesting than Sakurama.
That sounds far more intellectually intriguing, like all the senses of adventure, than flying to Abu Dhabi to surf a wave pool.
Totally agree. And my takeaway on that was the concept of the drone. That was the one thing where I was like, oh, that's all. I mean, I knew that existed, that technology is used, but this is the first time it really kind of sunk in that these guys that you now get to, like in the past, you'd see a wave from the back, you'd have to go into the reef pass, anchor, and then look at it. Now you're like way beyond and you're like, look at that whitewater. Let's just fly the drone over there. And oh man, look, you know what? That's pretty cool. That drone concept just kind of hit this old guy in the eyeballs.
I totally agree. I don't know if you've watched Nathan Florence's latest YouTube drop.
I did. It's my must-see moment. It's
incredible. I wish I pulled a clip of it. I neglected to. So he's with Daniel Russo, surf photographer Daniel Russo, North Shore surf photographer. And they're scouting new reefs to surf. And so they're doing it from the beach, and a drone would have been very helpful for them. They have a drone. It would have been helpful for them in the exploration because they're surveying it from the land, which only gives you one angle, and it's not a very effective way. But it reminds me of exactly what John John said. It's like there's crazy waves everywhere. Or not everywhere, but there's crazy waves around the world. These guys have access to them, empty, by themselves. And the idea of pioneering a spot is encoded in surfers' DNA. You know, like that is the most thrilling thing. And then to be able to do what Nathan Florence ultimately did at that wave in that YouTube video is like, that's the grail. There's nothing else. Winning Sakurama is not that cool. It's not as cool as that.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. And I'll just give you the final takeaway here from a great interview that you should all go to Stab and read it. It's really gives you some insight into John. But the final takeaway, and I'm quoting John here, I just don't want to miss these years with my son. The time I got to spend with him and my wife last year, being together all the time, it was priceless.
So I did read that part as well. That was understood from the very get-go of why he quit or why he pulled out. Like that I already understood. And I think that is the most mature I was going to say selfless, but that it might be actually somewhat selfish. I was going to say selfless because another thing that he stated there was how it requires a tremendous amount of selfishness to chase the title. And so this almost feels like it's in contrast to that, but it's an investment in the child's future, which is the selfless part.
Yeah, there was a sense, and I think he maybe even stated it, but that, yeah, the wife and the child can go on tour with me, but I'm still totally locked into me, into self. And like, even after the heat, I'm either mad or glad, and I've got to go train and eat the right food, and I got to get the rest. And no, you handle the diapers. I'm busy winning a world title. So even though you're there with the wife and child, you're not necessarily present with the wife and child, where I think this other opportunity allows complete presence and stillness.
Eckhart Tolle. So the other thing there is all of the sacrifice that is being made on tour in the ways that you just described it. My question is, to what end? And the answer to that question is for other people to validate the surfing that you're doing in the water. You're doing all of that, sacrificing the relationship with the wife and kid and the things that you actually want to do for somebody else to go, yeah, you win this heat, you win this event, you eventually win this world title. We deem you as the best surfer in the world. So it is actually, I don't know what the right word is. It's incredibly, like if you're just seeking other people's validation, what is the word for that? You know? Yes,
Vanity?
Exactly. Vanity, narcissism. I'm not sure what the right way to characterize it is, but every single portion of that pursuit is seeking other people's validation. What John, I feel like, is doing with this decision is going and doing the best surfing in the world on his own terms. And we all see it. We then validate it when we see it, but you watch the clips and you go, he's in the best waves in the world and he's doing the best surfing in the world. There's no other, I don't need a world title to tell me that. I definitely don't need the 5 judges working off of last year's criteria to tell me that. I want to see what's going to be happening next year based on John John's influence. And John John's the one setting the pace. So him not seeking the validation is a sign of maturity to me.
For sure. Well, there was quite a few comments in the Stab section, and I pulled one that I thought was sort of fitting and sort of speaks to your view on it as well. And here's the quote from the Stab comments, and I apologize, I didn't get the listener or the reader's handle within the comments section, but he stated, how many of us have dreamed of chasing a world title? Traveling the world via sailboat with your family and finding uncrowded waves has such a broader appeal that taps into why so many of us surf and what so many people who don't surf can relate to. It's the dream behind the endless summer. Following this dream doesn't feel contrived. It feels authentic, and authenticity is what so many people crave in this world of AI slop. this, not appearing on Baywatch, could very easily catapult John out of our tiny surf world and into a wider folk hero status.
Kudos, bravo, agreed. I think in the ways that I misspoke last week was, you know,
Let me interject. I think what you didn't convey was that you two would enjoy an incredible competitive moment between John and Gabe as the year culminates, and maybe it's at Chopu or wherever. But if you weigh the two options, the other option makes way more sense to not only John, but to you, David, as a fan.
That is correct. And then additionally, what I didn't convey is that the amount that I care about competitive surfing occupies less and less time in my mind each passing year. And right now it's at about 10%. So if competitive surfing was 90% of my interest in surfing, then I'd be like, collect all the best surfers in the world, get them all on tour. Like, let's go. You're wasting your time off tour, but it's just not that important, you know? And I think that comment kind of sums that up as well, is that in surfing more than basketball or anything else, it's not that important.
Yeah. Well, some have argued surfing's not really a sport. It's a competitive endeavor.
I like having the sporting aspect still. Like, I don't mean to completely diminish it, the competitive side of it.
No, I think it's important.
I like having these contests and being able to kind of, I mean, I've said this too, but if we just go to the beach and we just watch surfing, we're automatically going, that guy's the best surfer in the lineup. Oh, you know what? That guy surfed a little bit differently, but also really good. So maybe he's the best surfer in the lineup. I don't know. Let's wait till another set comes in and let's see who gets the best way. You know, like, we're always doing the calculation for competition. So of course we're going to do that when it comes to just viewing these people on the internet.
Here's what's interesting. You're at the beach, you're watching guys surf. There's a guy that stands, excuse me. There's a guy that stands out. But there's other people that are surfing okay. And one of those okay surfers comes in, and two of his little kids run up to him and grab him by the legs and scream, jump up and down and say, "Daddy, Daddy." And he picks one of them up, the 2-year-old, and they walk to their car, and his beautiful wife has got an incredible spread of food laid out there. They've got a tent up, a sunshade. The full situation is dialed. And now you're going, yeah, Surfer A surfs pretty good, but Surfer B has his shit together. I'm kind of more of a fan of that guy. And that's where the lifestyle part of it could perhaps come in.
Yep. I see that. When you talked about the first quote from John John, I should have played this clip for you. This is him surfing Haleiwa the other day.
You mean Chun?
Yeah.
You mean Chuns?
Not Chun's. This one is labeled as Haleiwa as well, and it clearly is. This was a free surf video that somebody posted, just raw clips of, basically. Let me find the play button. Here we go. So that's Eli Olsen, but the next wave is John John. So it's a little bit mixed up, Haleiwa, but sizable, plenty of energy. And just watch John surf this wave. Watch how beautifully. Takes off, doesn't look like a meaningful wave. Bottom turn, big open carve into the face, like kind of braking section. Another kind of wraparound carve. Look at this. Looks like a little closeout barrel. Oh, nope, comes out of it. What's next? Not roundhouse, but layback carve. How beautiful is that wave?
Yeah.
I mean, that sums it up. I watched Eli Olsen's wave. Yeah. This is Cade Madsen now up and riding. They don't hold a candle to John. I mean, look at this. No. Cade rips, but he's just out of rhythm with the wave, out of sync. John's on the section every time it pops up in the perfect position, doing the perfect carve, pulling into the tube at the one moment that it, presents itself. He's just on a whole different level.
Absolutely. It's incredible.
So, anyways, huge fan.
Well, look, let's take a quick break and we'll talk some other things. Maybe a little Nathan Florence.
I want to see this wave one more time. I mean, just look at the beauty. See, all of this is enabled by the traveling of the ocean and surfing around the world. All right.
Maybe.
Bathroom break.
Okay. Welcome back.
Welcome back to you. One other final thought on John John's absence from tour. This means Ramzi Boukayem gets the injury wild card for 2026 for any Moroccan surf fans.
That's kind of cool. A little cosmopolitan, add a little Cosmo
We like
flavor.
Ramzi.
Yeah, for sure. Guy absolutely kills it.
Provides some of the highlight clips throughout the year. He's not the most consistent competitor, but he drops a 10 periodically. So, and he always goes for it. That's the other thing.
Yeah,
So,
he's a beast.
big fan. And that news about Raglan should bode well for him too. And then while we're on the topic of Hawaii, we were talking Hawaii. Lots of stuff going down. Challenger Series event at Pipe. Hawaii's kind of been pumping.
Yeah. I actually watched a bunch of that, and day 3 in the morning before the wind got weird, there were some good backdoor barrels. Kalu Vost was ripping. There was a couple last minute. Carlos Munoz.
Oh, I didn't see his waves.
Yeah, he had a buzzer beater. Yeah.
So it's been a great event. They've had a couple of good days of surf. I love seeing no names. Like these Challenger Series events are great because you see these no names kind of level up and really shine. I shouldn't say no names. If you're following close enough, they're not no names. But Joey Johnston, who I think might be a lifeguard on the North Shore, he's gotten some incredible waves in the last 2 or 3 years that I remember, not in contests, but just in free surfs. And so seeing him go out there and do what he does is kind of amazing. There's a kid from Southern California, Nolan Raposa, who got like a high 8 on a pipe wave, a left. But really what you see is local knowledge benefiting the locals, getting crazy backdoor pits.
Yeah. It's been fun to watch for sure. It's a little bit, I'm looking at the pipe cam right now. It's a little bit out of control. It's not going to go today, I don't think, based on what I'm seeing.
I think it was already
here.
officially called off for today. Yeah.
Okay.
Here's a question I have for you that you will not have the answer to, but it's worth discussing. How does Jamie O'Brien not make it through heats? Yes, he was in it. He lost his first round heat, left. I feel like his total heat score was like a 1. He was left waiting for a wave. Somebody else got it at the last minute. But it's like, again, local knowledge really comes into play at this spot more than a lot of other spots. And Jamie, on any given day, you'll see him get the waves that nobody else can find in the lineup. So it always shocks me that he doesn't. If he's going to lose, you think he'd lose with 2 8s or something like that. It's just shocking when he loses not catching waves.
Yeah, I sense, like, first of all, he's already a pipe master, so and he's getting older. So I think his mentality is, I'm going to paddle out, and if 2 killer ones come to me, I'm going to advance, but I'm not going to paddle for something shitty and try to grovel through a heat. I don't think he's into groveling through heats. He's more in, and I can't speak for Jamie. I'm just thinking out loud, you know. He's kind of been there, done that, and he's willing to stand up tall in some really good ones. But if there aren't good ones, I don't think he's in grovel mode.
I don't expect him to grovel. I expect him to be on the 2 best waves of the heat every time he's out there.
Yeah, that's probably fair too. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, whenever you see sort of elder statesmen in heats and they're not getting through and you're kind of surprised, I just think it's more mental than it. I just don't think they're super focused on being on the podium the final day.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, also this is a Challenger Series event, so it's not as if it's a Pipe Masters or anything like that. But I think his head is in, or his desire is there to win the event. But I think it also just kind of highlights the unpredictability of surfing and the real limitation of the contest format. Because any other 30-minute span at Pipe, I would put my money on him. If it was a 30-minute free sesh, I'd put my money on him every time, you know?
For sure, a free surf. I mean, the guy's, to this day, one of, if not the best guys out there. So, you know, and I think that's the thing, is that he drops incredible free surfing clips and gets paid for doing that. And so he's not really getting paid to advance out of a 4 to 6 foot kind of funky day with the wind going onshore. And, I think there's some days in competitions that he wouldn't even be out there except that he has to put a jersey on and paddle out.
I agree with that. Another thought that I had watching everything that's going down on the North Shore is how disappointed I am that 2, maybe 3 names are not there. Gabriel Medina, Filipe Toledo, and Italo. And obviously they're all Brazilians, so I don't know if this is a like these guys are they're so focused on competition that is kind of, if there's not a competition happening, that they're not going to, there is a Challenger Series, but they're not going to surf in that. So if there's not a competition that requires them to be there, if they're then just off the clock. But I mean, my entire surfing experience up until this modern era is everybody goes to Mecca during the wintertime to get the best waves in the world and battles it out. And then fans get to see, we get the entertainment basically value out of that. And so it's just a little disheartening for me that those guys aren't there for me to get that entertainment, but also it doesn't seem like their heart is in the act of surfing as much as former generations, or certainly as much as it is in the act of competing.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's interesting. I think just times have changed, you and I both know. I mean, there was decades where Brazilians would be the first ones there and the last ones to leave.
Up until Adriano de Souza.
And I mean, not even like A-level pros, just like Brazilians everywhere. You know what I mean? Like the country traveled there and hung out and stayed there for 6 or 8 months and brought their girlfriends, and it was a situation, or a situation, as my friend Paulo likes to say. But, that's kind of what you had to do to make a name as a pro surfer. And there's other ways to be out there these days as a pro surfer. Beyond spending 8 months, 6 months of the year hunkered down on the North Shore and making it happen. That's
my point exactly, is pro surfing aside, I'm just talking surfing. It's disheartening to me that Gabriel Medina doesn't love surfing so much that he would go spend 4 months on the North Shore in the wintertime.
Well, the North Shore is kind of grindy. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's, I think at this point in time, you either are all in or you're not in at all. You can't go 50-50 on it. And the North Shore is competitive. It's kind of taxing emotionally, especially if you show up and you've got to deal with, all of the local guys, the Koas and the Jamie O'Briens and the Nathans and all of the guys, of which there's, a solid 300 that I can't even name, but are still going to be a situation that you're going to have to deal with. It's not all paradise. It's kind of grindy.
That is the nucleus of everything that I've loved about surfing since the beginning. And anything else that I love about surfing emanates out from that nucleus. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it is grindy. That's the point. And I didn't advertise that it was paradise. If I thought it was paradise, I would have said, go to the Maldives, or if I wanted Gabriel Medina to pursue paradise, that's what I would have sent him. But what I'm saying is, the best waves and the most kind of consequential and challenging waves in the world happen in one place every winter. We know that. And if you're at the pinnacle of surfing, that's where you go. If you want to challenge yourself, that's where you go. And the fact that they're just like aloof about it until there's a contest at stake is a bummer to me.
Well, I don't know if aloof is the right word, but they have other interests, like, why not be in Morocco this month and be absolutely scoring epic Morocco?
They're not there either.
Well, I'm not saying they are, but my point is there's other opportunities to, enjoy the surfing lifestyle that it's just broadened, I get it. I know what you're saying. I totally agree. Like, I've got occasionally, people will come to me and go, hey, my son, blah, 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 he's on the QS or Challenger, whatever. And I'm like, here's the deal. If your son really wants to be a top grade professional surfer, in my opinion, a competitive surfer, he needs to go to the North Shore and basically live there for 4 months each and every year. That will either spit him out or turn him into. And you look at like the Benji Brands of the world, like there's guys that have
Anthony
who's the
Walsh.
other who's the other New York
Ballroom Stack.
Yeah, Ballroom, great example. That guy, I bet he's on his 20th year, or more. And he does it because he loves it. He does it for the reasons that you stated. And on top of all that, because he loves it, everyone sees that it's authentic, and he's putting in the time and building up the respect and getting the kudos in the end and kind of pulling it off,
And by the way, there's virtue that comes with that and all of the hardship that is embedded in it. And he gets spit out of the other end, a far more, fierce competitor, fiercer surfer, and a more interesting character.
Well, when you think about it too, like you think about a crew of guys, like let's say Cloudbreak's is on the radar, and there's a crew of guys that are going to Cloudbreak. You never see Gabe at Italo go to Cloudbreak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Bring back surfers of yesteryear.
They're still out there. They're still totally out there. It's just that Gabe and Italo aren't in that mold.
Matt Archibald,
JoJo Rope.
Matt Archibald back in the day, Dingo Morrison, like the crew of Aussies from that era where it was like, I like what you're saying about other spots around the world because Gabe and Italo do have the means to chase those things. But I like the surfers of yesteryear that would show up on the North Shore, had no place in the lineup, no right to be there. They were coming off of T Street, and then they would charge off the wall because they couldn't get waves at back door. And then they'd get shots, and people are like, oh, shoot, maybe we let him get a set, or let him at least be in position. So I don't know. That's the steeliness that I miss. And, but
yeah, the Kieran Perros of the world.
Totally. Kieran was definitely cut from that cloth. I will say though, I don't know, a long time ago, 8 years ago or something, there was a clip that went viral of Gabriel Medina where they were there for the contest, but it was a lay day and the waves were like victory at sea. Nobody was even surfing. Tons of weather, 12 feet, crazy, nowhere to even paddle out. And all of the crew was on the deck of the house watching it. And they were like, hey, let's put $100 up for somebody to paddle out there and catch a wave. It might have been more than $100, but they put monetary value on a bet. And Gabriel Medina navigated the paddle out somehow. It was like nobody could have made the paddle out. Gabriel Medina somehow navigated the paddle out, spun around, took off on a wave, got shacked, and came out of the wave, and then laid down on the whitewash and came into the beach. Just one and done, and it was a sick wave. Like looking at the lineup, you didn't even see a wave barrel, but he somehow made the paddle out, got the wave, and came in. So it's like, dude.
No one's doubting his ability. He's one of the, if not, he's one of the best in the world.
And I loved that, And so
yeah,
I'm just an ultimate fanboy of the thing itself and love seeing the thing itself done at the highest level. And so it's disappointing when guys of that talent level are not.
I mean, right now, for instance, today on the North Shore, if he was there, what's he going to do? He's going to go paddle out with 40 dudes at 15, barely breaking Waimea.
So,
and grind it out with those guys. I mean, what's the upside?
I don't know, but
seems kind of grindy.
Because every single season there are days in between the days that you're talking about where somebody gets a crazy wave that nobody else would have even paddled out to.
Does Gabe Medina get invited to the Eddy? Will he ever?
No.
Should he ever?
Not unless he makes some radical life change. By the way, I'm going to show you this Waimea clip and you tell me who it is.
Okay.
Oh, my screen's not working. You know what? I don't know if I can.
We're listening to David try to manage and navigate his.
Here it is.
Here
I
we go.
found it. All right. Have you seen this? And who can you identify who it is? Waimea, 20-footer, incredible drop. Helmet on. Does that look familiar at all? Tell me.
Caity Simmers.
Simmers. On a big day with the contest running at Pipe, down at Waimea, going for it.
This is what you're talking about, David, right here. You just found the clip that kind of encapsulates everything.
Almost as if it was intentional, Scott.
Oh my, look at you producing the living shit out of this show. Good for you.
But do you ever remember one of the female competitors going out Waimea and going just for a free surf sesh, just to challenge herself?
No, I think that's
Congratulations, Caity, and a sick wave.
Tip of the cap to Caity. By the way, we have one of Caity Simmers' boards, or one of her Chris Borse in the upcoming California Gold Surf Auction. So if you're a Caity Simmers fans, we've got one of her personal boards, one of her personal.
I wonder
riders.
if Chris Borse is making that the gun, the Waimea gun.
That's what I was wondering too.
Well, get to the bottom of that, Scott.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Also, quick note on Hawaii Wave of the Winter. Do you want to see a couple submissions?
Absolutely.
Obviously, January just wrapped. I think they're going to do the awards ceremony for January on the 11th of February. Here is one submission from Tosh Tudor on a pipe wave, kind of a classic pipe wave. Bonus section. Long.
Is that one of those Boysons?
I'm not sure.
I think Steve Boyson maybe made that board.
Classic pipe wave. We love to see it. And then I'm going to show you one more, which, spoiler alert, this is my pick. Shion Crawford, or I think they pronounce his name Shion. Shion Crawford at Backdoor, just, I think, on the 31st or something, last day of the month. Truly Backdoor's Backdoor. Did you see this clip yet?
I did. This was in the backdoor shootout, right? Like
I think it was after.
They had the backdoor shootout where they just sent everybody out there without jerseys and.
Oh, I did not realize that. No, I don't think it was. This was after the backdoor shootout waiting period. I think this was after they called off the event, the Challenger Series event, like the end of the day. This happened after the buzzer.
Oh, that's amazing. So, which one is the wave of the winter? If those are the two,
the wave of January, I'm going.
The wave of January.
Yeah, I'm going Shion Crawford.
Yeah, it was maybe a little more under the hood, straight away. He kind of didn't have a lot of speed, so he must have had to pump right there that you don't see. That's the feeling I get.
I mean, Tosh's was longer, but I just love the unpredictability of this one. I mean, they're equally square probably, but I love the Shion taking off on the left. You know, like it was a full backdoored section.
Yeah, he definitely. But it's hard. I mean, these things are hard to. Tosh's wave is incredible too. I'm not discounting that at all.
Well, thanks for the wave of the winter submissions and Leah McNamara for doing the hard work. And then moving on, but in other winter storms, I want to give a shout out to the Outer Banks. If you've seen some of the calamity taking place there, the houses falling into the ocean, major winter storm, super snowy, blustery, tons of wind, and weather's wreaking havoc on our friends on the Outer Banks.
Well, sorry to hear that. It's funny. I was cruising through SwellNet, looking for some, just kind of doing what we do before the show. I was looking for some stories to discuss, and Stu Nettle had a story about climate change, and his whole take was, look, we can argue whether it exists or not, but Mother Nature doesn't lie. He's got all these places that are just getting swept, homes just getting swept into the ocean.
Well, we have spent time on the Outer Banks with our friends at Real Water Sports, and they are right there in a very precarious location. They've got water 50 yards from the front door, and then if you go across the highway, probably, quarter of a mile the direction.
Well, I mean, it's a depositional coastline, Here in San Diego, It's an erosional coastline. Theirs is a depositional, which means deposits move about. Things are moving constantly. Depositing here, taken from there, depositing there, shifting, bringing it back. But I don't know. I'm not an oceanographer, so I don't want to get an email that's telling me I'm wrong. Although you're welcome to send emails telling us that I'm wrong, because we seem to get a lot of.
I don't even think there's bedrock. It's just built on sand.
Yeah.
So
there's some old shipwrecks that are getting uncovered.
Yeah, but those houses, I mean, I love that place. Obviously, the waves and the surf culture and all of that stuff is fantastic, but I just love the beauty of it. And those houses are, you know,
I think Kitty Hawk is what's incredible. Really is. The Wright brothers, I don't know if it's a museum or it's a heritage site, but I visited there when you and I were there. I went and spent time there. And I mean, you got to understand, when the Wright brothers' first flight occurred, there was newspapers that wouldn't even run the story. They're like, no, men cannot fly. We're not running. This is not true.
That was like the judges unwilling to score the club sandwich.
Very similar. Great analogy. That's where I was going with this. But let me quickly talk about Nathan Florence before we leave. It's my must-see moment, presented by Trees Wax. And I imagine you watched it because you mentioned it. And it's called Attempting to Surf and Survive This Extreme New Wave, Nathan Florence's YouTube. And as you mentioned, he's there with Daniel Russo, his photographer. And it's this slabby right-hander in the middle of nowhere. I'm not sure where this is. It could be an outer island. It has like Guam vibes, like Micronesia, like that kind of area vibes. You're giving me a look like you know where it is. But regardless, that's the point. We don't need to know, or even if we did know, we shouldn't tell it where it is. But it was Chun's.
From now
really
on,
good Chun's.
From now on, everything is Chun's.
Everything's Chun's. That's a good take. But it's a serious Chun's wave, and it's I'm sort of blown away constantly by, first and foremost, Nathan Florence is a big guy, and he has these cat-like reflexes. He's really on top of his game. The quickness, the ability to get under the hood, like we just saw Cheyenne get. Negotiating the paddle out was fascinating, right? How shallow and mean that reef is, and having to find the little keyhole and time it, and the whitewater dragging you back 20 feet. There's a lot of anxiety that is conveyed, and I really think that this is what's, as I started to think about it, Nathan Florence's YouTube is highly relatable because he does this great job of setting up and conveying the anxieties that we would all be going through. Like, oh, I can't seem to get the wax on, or my leash isn't doing this right. And, you know, there's these emotions and these adrenalines and these anxieties that he does a really good job of just authentically going, hey, man, here's what I'm going through right now. And it's something that I think is super relatable. And this is a great example.
Captures the surf experience. Because surf videos or surf porn of the 90s was just show the maneuver being done. Don't show the beginning of the wave. Don't show the end of the wave. Just show the high impact. And that was, cool at the time. But I always loved the Endless Summer, where you see what it took to get to the location, and then the paddle out and the takeoff of the ride, the falls of the ride. This is kind of that type of storytelling. So, yeah, it's relatable to your point.
Absolutely.
And I will give the biggest shout out, Daniel Russo. It's one thing to do all that on a surfboard. Russo swam it.
I know. That's pretty incredible.
It's remarkable.
Wasn't there a giant rip off to the right side of it too? I don't know. I didn't understand why Nathan was trying to get out through the keyhole and not through the rip, but maybe I didn't see it correctly.
Also, to your point of Nathan doing a lot of things, he also has a GoPro in his mouth. So he's filming. Yeah. He's filming his own stuff too, which is, I forget about that. I watched the POV coming out of the barrel, and I'm like, forgot that's because he has a camera in his mouth. But then you see Russo's version of it, and you're like, oh my God, Andy's holding a camera in his mouth. So really impressive stuff.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I did watch that. I'll post that. I'll post the free Surfs at Haleiwa footage, which also included, I showed you the John John clip, but Kanoa was out there, Griffin was out there, Crosby was out there. So there's other good waves in it. And then my musty moment presented by Treeswax, treeswax.com, petroleum-free surf wax. There's an online money-back guarantee and 20% off if you use the code SPIT. Side note, I just noticed Treeswax is sponsoring the Wave of the Winter as well.
Oh,
So,
very good. Good
yeah.
for Christian. Treeswax. And thanks for being a part of
Always.
our show, Treeswax, and presenting the must-see
always.
moment.
Thank you. Devin Howard sent us a clip of Ian Gotran, I think is how you pronounce his last name, but surfer, I think from San Clemente area, who rides everything, nose riding, bonzers, high-performance shortboards, doing airs, really, really talented young surfer. And Log Rap did a video on Ian. That is not my must-see moment, even though you should watch it. During it, Ian has a ankle injury, so he's been laid up on the couch, and he goes, I've watched this video more than anything else, and it's Tom Curren. It's a montage of Tom Curren. It's called the Super Video. You can find it on YouTube. I'm going to play it for you now. But it's Tom Curren surfing to NXS, Don't Change. And man, watching Curren back in the heyday, it's a lot of footage I haven't even seen of him before, but it seems like somebody just took a mix of a bunch of different YouTube videos and cut them into a supercut. And anytime I see some fresh Curren footage, it will be my must-see moment. Did you watch?
Yeah, this is some early stuff.
Yeah, it's Rincon, it's Hawaii, it's Huntington, it's the
80s.
Superbank. But never gets old, Scott.
That turn
So
was
sick.
sick. Oops, we said it as Nas. That was a Nas.
Is that Natividad? Where do you think that is?
Oh, good. That's a good call. That's a deep pull there, Natividad. I don't know. That's Huntington Beach, obviously. That looks
Steamer
like
for
Steamer.
sure.
I don't know, but can't get enough Tom
I mean,
Curren.
if we saw
The GOAT, the aesthetic
so
GOAT.
this,
If Kelly Slater is the GOAT of all time, Tom Curren's the aesthetic GOAT
if
of
this
all time.
footage is, let's say, from the mid '80s, maybe mid '80s to late '80s,
No, this is
Yeah.
80s.
late '80s. Oh man, how's that? If this is mid to late '80s, oh, here we are. What's this? Sunset.
Yeah.
And a kid put out an edit today that was this, it would still
Yeah.
break the internet. And this is 40 years old.
That was a sick.
I mean, I
deep
never even
one
saw
right
this
there.
clip. I don't even know where they're getting these clips.
Does he make that? Was
I know.
incredible.
This is somehow more captivating to you and I than the most recent
He looks
the most
bigger.
recent hardcore shredding clip would be. Right?
I guess so.
What a sick one. Positioning.
Okay.
We're using the word appropriately because this is the only moment.
know.
Look at that style.
I'm wondering the people that are listening to this are going, what's going on this podcast? We're watching Tom Curren absolutely style through every bottom turn, huge pipe, second reef, all sorts of backdoor waves, Sunset Beach, late drop, under the lip. You don't see that. That's a 12. I've already given him a 10 on that wave just for the drop. That's what you don't see at Sunset anymore. You don't see the guys doing the friggin' rabbit Kong under the lip drops.
And doing snaps at pipe too. All right. Well, hey.
Ian, you're onto
Yeah.
something. And we should check out the Ian footage from Channel Islands.
Yeah, it's from Log Rap, but spoiler alert. Spoiler
Log
alert.
Rap.
He inked a deal with Channel Islands, so you'll be seeing him on Channel Islands moving forward.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm stoked. I get the sense that based on the description that you put forth there, that Ian's kind of like a young version of Devin. You know, like can kind of
I
do
don't know,
it
have
all.
you ever seen Devin do airs on a shortboard?
No, I've never even seen Devin on a shortboard.
Yeah, the shortest
ever.
I've seen him is
I'm
like
sure-
6'8".
The shortest. He might have been on a fish maybe at one point
Not
somewhere.
really.
Ooh, we're just throwing Devin under the bus.
Not at all.
He's a great surfer, Devin.
All right. Well, let's
All right,
quick
well, look.
shout out. Almost neglected to mention, Surfrider is always with us as well, and you guys should be too. They need
Yeah.
your support now more than ever. I mean, they face kind of larger scale threats, or the environment, I should say, faces larger scale threats in 2026 than it has in the past, and so they're doing the hard work to keep the oceans clean and healthy. And so they could use your support. Become a member at surfrider.org.
Absolutely. We don't want to see any oil chunks, globs of oil in the sand and on our surfboards.
You know who offshore oil drilling benefits, Scott? Oil companies. A very few people.
Hey.
The oil companies will tell you there's economic benefit. They are incorrect about that. There are studies done. There is not economic benefit for you. We have plenty of oil. We generate plenty of oil without needing to open new leases, and so. Yeah, there's very few that benefit. And you know who carries the cost of the risks of offshore oil drilling? You and I. Shockingly, the oil companies do not hold the entire cost of cleaning it up. We do. And there's environmental damage that is very difficult to even measure. So.
Who does that? FEMA?
I don't know.
All right. Well, look, David, we've said a lot. A lot's been said. A lot hasn't been said, which is probably a good thing, too. Until next time, adios and aloha.